Welcome to the Inner Peace Podcast. I'm your host, PJ Ferguson. I invite you to start by taking a deep, cleansing breath. As you exhale, release any tension or troubles you might have. For the next few minutes, be free of your cares and worries. Let peace and enlightenment fill your heart and mind. Greetings, friends. This is Inner Peace Podcast number 7.5. And I entitled this one, Thoughts and Prayers and Action. And I've been going back and forth about what I would like to say during this podcast. I'm calling it 7.5 because I had something else that I was going to talk about all prepared. And then we had the school shooting in Florida that happened. I've also been trying to decide when I should actually release this podcast because I do want to talk about similar topics related to this event. I don't want to ignore the event, but I also don't want to feel like what I'm going to say is going to be lumped in with a direct reaction to this unfortunate event. And the story that I'm going to use to introduce this podcast actually goes way back to, October of 2017. And it's the reason why I started the Peace on Earth movement in the first place. It was because of the Las Vegas shooting last October again, where a lot of people were killed and injured. All of the events that have been going on, the shootings and the violence, are unfortunate. They're sad. Perhaps like many of you, I became aware of the shooting in Las Vegas on Facebook. Everybody was kind of in a flurry sending thoughts and prayers, and I'm like, well, what's going on? So I plug into the news. And horrible event that had happened, tragedy. I thought it was heartwarming, all of the thoughts and prayers that were being sent about. I'll admit to being just a little bit naive to that topic, this specific topic of thoughts and prayers. So one person's Facebook post actually jumped out at me. It was super negative. It was getting down on everybody who was sending thoughts and prayers. It was spiteful, negative, and angry. And I wondered how anybody could have that kind of an attitude. So I, of course, paid attention. This person was just taking his big steamy dump on everyone's well-wishing. So I'm like, why? Now, while his comment was disparaging everybody's thoughts and prayers, I think that his point was really that thoughts and prayers were not enough. People who should be taking action weren't taking the action that they should have, mainly people in government. And so I really started becoming more aware of this thing. So I kind of thought this whole topic of thoughts and prayers has gone around a lot. But me, I'd prefer to be solution-focused, action-oriented. How can we fix this? What can we do to fix this? Instead of getting tangled up in these, in a tug of war where nobody's winning. Everybody's using the same arguments. Everybody thinks they're right. And to me, I feel like the truth is somewhere in the middle. So what do we do to make things better? Now, I think thoughts and prayers are great. I'll get into that a little bit. But I also think that action is a little bit is appropriate. So because I wanted to take action, I started wondering, well, we've got the NRA, National Rifle Association. They've got lobbyists in the higher up parts of our own government. And it's like, well, if we've got that kind of an association with so much power, we must have a National Peace Association. So I became very interested in this topic. What kind of national or federal level associations do we have that are geared towards peace? Because I wanted to put my support towards that kind of a project, right? Come to find out after doing some research that there isn't one. Now, there are some really great nonprofits that are peace-oriented. They are making great strides towards creating peace, and I applaud their efforts, support their efforts. But there's not a national organization with as much power as, say, the NRA. So I thought, well, if we don't have one, why not create one? So I started my version of a National Peace Association, or the Peace on Earth movement. And, whatever your stance on the issue is, people tend to be arguing about gun control, gun violence. To me, I prefer to focus on the human issue of why do we have a society that churns out people so geared towards violence. And I don't agree that we as a society, if we really are civilized, if we really are peace-loving, should be the kind of society that has so much violence and people who feel like perhaps that is their best option, is to hurt others. So again, question is, what can we do? So I started the Peace on Earth movement. I invite you to jump on board. Right now it's very small, grassroots. We have very simple initiatives that we're starting, but it's you and me and all of our cooperation that will give it power and will make really great things happen. So at any rate, this podcast is to talk about my thoughts and prayers. So the quotes that I would like to start with, the first one is unknown, not sure who to attribute it to, but the quote is, "The distance between your dreams and reality is called action." I love that one. Short and simple, speaks for itself. The next quote is by Arnold Glasgow, and he says, "An idea not coupled with action will never get any bigger than the brain cell it occupied." Okay, so those are two really good thoughts about thoughts and prayers, but more obviously action. So the takeaways I have for this podcast are, first, sending your thoughts and prayers is an action. I would never deign to disparage anyone sending thoughts and prayers. Emotional support is immensely important during times of struggle, of need, and sadness. And knowing that you're not alone helps immensely. It's just super important to know that you're not alone. You're supported. You know, when we're thousands of miles away from people who are struggling, it's nice that we have social media where we can connect with those people and say, hey, you know what? Our thoughts are with you. We care. And so send those thoughts and prayers. Absolutely. The second takeaway I have for you is that peace is a verb. I feel very strongly about this. Peace is a verb. Love is a verb. If we truly care, then we'll do something. Okay? Emotional support helps those after the tragedy has happened. But if, again, we really and truly care, we will desire to prevent these kinds of tragedies from happening again. So we will actually take action in order to improve the situation so that these things don't happen again. The third takeaway is to act before it's too late. So very related to the second takeaway, but the point is to act now. I mean, if you really care, you'll do more than just send your thoughts and prayers. You'll do something. So I know that it can seem really difficult in this breakneck world. We live fast and furious. We fill our lives full of stuff and busyness, and it's really hard to fit anything else into our lives. But this really comes down to where our priorities are. Now, your priorities are not what you think or dream and hope they are in order to make you feel like you're a good person because you say, my priority is a family, my priorities are peace, kindness. Your priorities are where you spend your time and your energy. So consider where your priorities are. If your life is so full, what could be taken out that might be replaced with something positive and uplifting, peace-oriented? So, the first place to act is to start with your own life. Figure out how you can fit peace into your own world. This might mean you need to do some simplifying of your life. You might need to do some self-care, some self-healing, some meditation, exercise, improving your diet even. I mean, even little things can make a huge change in your life for the better. So a peaceful, happy you is going to make this whole world infinitely better. So start with you. Get yourself into a place where you're experiencing peace and happiness on a daily and a deep level. Okay? So the next thing is to extend that peace to the world around you. Who is close to you? What impact are you having on them? Is it good or is it bad? Family, peers, people at work, people you connect with even on social networks. How can you open the door to peace in the relationships closest to you? How can you improve your relationships with others? The next thought, as far as acting before it's too late, is to remember the little things. You should never underestimate the impact you have on others. Just the little things can make or break someone else's day. You can kick them up to having a great day or week, even. So remember to be kind, be polite, hold the door for someone, say thank you, smile. Do the little things that show kindness to others, okay? You really, really never know what kind of kindness, what kind of impact your kindness will have on people. And conversely, you never know what kind of impact your lack of kindness or even your unkindness can do to make things worse for people. And everything we do ripples out into the world. So be mindful of your thoughts, your words, your actions, the way you treat others, and start shifting those thoughts and words and actions towards peace. So aside from remembering the little things, don't forget the big things. If you can do more, you should. It's as simple as that. There's an enormous amount of violence, of fear, hatred, and suffering. A lot of it comes from ignorance. A lot of it just comes from laziness. If we want to see the world make a major shift towards peace, then major efforts are needed. And I think a lot of the major part of those efforts is a lot of us working together for that common goal of peace. And now, again, part of the focus of the Peace on Earth movement is to show people how many others truly want peace. Yes, we're all taking different paths towards that common goal. And the point is to, instead of being on opposite sides of the fence from each other, to stand on that common ground of, yeah, we all want to feel safe, free, happy, peaceful. And so how do we work together to create that for each other? Instead of fighting against each other all the time, how do we work together? So doing some of the big things help cross some of those barriers and remind people, yeah, we're all part of this human family. So some of the big things might be volunteering. Find a cause to volunteer for. Do it once a week. Do it once a month. I don't care. Just do it. You might find a community that you can plug into. It might be a poetry reading group where you can engage in meaningful dialogue. Finding a community is a place where you can cross those barriers because, again, you're finding that common ground. What do we share rather than what's our differences? Start a positive initiative of your own. Hey, if you're a go-getter, go blaze a trail that forges peace in the world. Get other people to join you and make good things happen. So, for instance, the Peace on Earth movement, this was my way of doing something, taking something that's a bigger action and trying to unite other people under the banner of peace. So some of the outreach initiatives that I am planning are peace groups to help adults not only learn things, topics of peace like I share on the Inner Peace podcast, but to create support groups. And after events like this one, like the Florida shooting, I would really love to get peace taught in more schools so that children are learning these precepts of peace and not only learning them, but being supported in living them. So I encourage you to stay connected with the Peace on Earth movement, the initiatives that we're setting up, different ways that you can support the movement. And we're trying to create initiatives that you can bring into your world powerfully and hopefully conveniently easily, because I think that's part of the service that we can provide for you, is to help you move peace into your life easily, a little bit at a time every single day. So there's really only one homework idea that I have for you this week, and that's to ask yourself, what can I do to create more peace today? Because while thoughts and prayers are great and very helpful at healing even, more is needed in this world. We need action. And to leave you with a final quote, this one is also unknown attribution. It's usually attributed to Gandhi, but incorrectly attributed to him. And loosely, he said something fairly similar to it, but it is to be the change you wish to see in the world. I know there's those who disparage this statement, but I think there couldn't be a truer or more powerful statement that, hey, what do you want the world to be like? Now you go be that. You go do that. Peace is a responsibility for each and every one of us. Start with yourself, your life, create that inner peace, that self-love, that happiness that you are seeking. Extend that to those closest to you. Find different ways to be kinder, more compassionate, and then extend yourself out to the entire world and say, hey, I'm a part of this world community. What can I do to make peace a reality for myself, my loved ones, and for everyone? So this is PJ. I thank you for being here. I'm sending you love, peace, and joy, and I'll see you next time. PJ is an inner peace coach and author, and the founder of the Peace on Earth movement. If you would like to know more about the Peace on Earth movement, or would like personal coaching for increased peace, happiness, and inner freedom, learn more by visiting innerpeacepodcast.com.